Good morning, everybody. This is Stephen Pugh of the Home Bible College. It's May the 19th today, and we're looking at 1 Chronicles and chapter 25. In this particular part of Chronicles, we have the designation. It's still lists of names, but it's the lists in chapter 25 of the temple musicians. If it says in verse 1, David and the captains of the host separated to the service of the sons of Asaph and of Heman and Jeduthun, who would prophesy with harps and psalteries and cymbals, and the number of the workmen according to their service was of the sons of Asaph, Zakur, Joseph, Nethanan, Azorath, and the sons of Asaph under the hands of Asaph, which prophesied according to the order of the king. Now, what we need to notice here is this, is that the word work and the word prophecy is used of those who handled the musical instruments. First of all, this wasn't playing about. This was serious business. This was work. It talks about the number of the workmen according to their service. So those that handled musical instruments in the temple were workmen. We're not to look upon them as having some sort of they just went in there to have a play about. They went in to just enjoy themselves. No, they went to do work, and they're a skilled craftsman as much as any other man in Israel. And not only was it skilled work, but it was prophecy. You see, prophecy is not only the foretelling of events that will happen in the future, but it's the foretelling of the work of God in the past and the present. It is the telling forth of what God is doing and what God has done. And of course the musicians, what were they going to do? With their music and with their singing, they were going to tell forth the wonderful works of God. So this work was called prophecy. Now when we come to verse 6, he says, all these were under the hand of their father for song in the house of the Lord, with cymbals and psalteries and harps for the service of the house of God, according to the king's order to Asaph, Jeduthun, and Heman, and the number of them and their brethren that were instructed in the songs of the Lord. Now we can see we're beginning to get a picture here. First of all, they were under the authority of their fathers. It was the fathers that were the choir masters. And not only the choir masters, but they were the fathers that were the conductors of the orchestra. Now that's a good phrase, isn't it? And they were instructed in the songs of the Lord. So this is the first time, I think, in which in Scripture we have a description of the songs of the Lord. So these songs were songs as we know today. They've been made up. They've been written by the Lord's servants. And these songs are a means of worship. They're not only a means of recounting God and his wonderful deeds, but they're also a means of enabling the heart of men to worship the Lord and to tell him how much they love and adore him. So this is a great work. Notice it is work and it is prophetic. Now we come on down to chapter 26. Now in chapter 26 we have another ministry. He says concerning the divisions of the porters. Now in chapter 26 we have another type of ministry. It's a ministry for the Lord. And their job is to carry stuff, to move stuff about. You know, in the service of the Lord in Israel, there was a lot of stuff to do. There was animals to be sacrificed. There were tables to be moved. There was so much to be done that what David did was to arrange for the whole of the porters to be put in order. Notice in verse 4, it was the sons of Obed-Edom that were called to do some of this work. And Obed-Edom was that man who had the Ark of God in his house. And if those young boys had touched the Ark, they might have died. But Obed-Edom was blessed, and so his sons are there. Shemaiah, his firstborn, and so on. And all these sons, they never died when the ark came into their house. No, they were blessed by God, and they had a future, and they had wives, and they had children in the future. Now in verse 29 we have another section of people. It says of the Ozhorites and the Chechnanan, and of his sons were of the outward business over Israel for officers and judges. You see, David set up what we could call today the public workers or the public officers and judges. So we could call these as being the police. This is the police. And what sort of men did they find? Verse 31, in the 40th year of the reign of David, they sought for, and there were found among them mighty men of valour at Jezer of Gilead. And his brethren were men of valour, were 2,700 and chief fathers, whom David made rulers over the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh, for every matter pertaining to God and the affairs of the king. So these were the public officials. They were police, they were men of valour, and they were linked to the judiciary. So we could call them the government. David set up the government, and they were men of strength and men of honour, and they were men who feared God, and they were in charge of all the matters on behalf of David to rule over the people for every matter pertaining to God and the affairs of the king. So that's my password for today. David set up, made rulers over the Reubenites, the Gadites, the half-tribe of Manasseh, for every matter pertaining to God and the affairs of the king. And these men were not to be despised. They were doing their service on behalf of God. And it is God who puts over men whomsoever he will, and he commands that men should obey them, because by obeying them they are obeying the Lord. Isn't it fascinating what is done here under David's name? Well, God bless you. Great to speak to you, and look forward to speaking to you again tomorrow. Bye for now.